There are many recipes in Ark that you can cook and craft to get yourself amazing health and stat buffs while playing the game. But did you know that you can craft your very own recipes to give yourself amazing stat buffs that you can use in the game? This can take your play from noob to pro. To make a recipe in Ark, the first thing you'll need to do is to write a note to put your recipe on. So you head into crafting and craft one note. You don't need to write anything on the note. To then make the recipe, you'll need to put your note into the cooking pot. Open the inventory of the cooking pot and make sure that you have fuel in it. Transfer over the note and the ingredients that you'd like to put into your recipe. If the recipe prompt doesn't come up right away, you can click Enable Autocraft, and then you will see this HUD come up. On the left, you'll see available ingredients that you have in your inventory. In the middle is the cooking pot with the recipe ingredients that you've already put in. On the right hand side, you'll see create recipe, and you can make two kinds of things. You can make food or you can make a drink. You'll see some pictures below. There's a burger, some kind of charcuterie board, and a cake. These are just some HUD icons that you can use to have your food in your inventory. It doesn't matter which one you pick. You can pick the one that you like the best. For the drink, there's two different mugs that you can choose to have your drink in. Again, this is just for pictures and aesthetics. In the next tab below, you'll see the color regions for each of the food that you can have. So here there are 3 color regions for a cake. So say we're going to make a cake. We'll have some icing. We'll add some green frosting on the outside, and for the 3rd color region, we'll have yellow cake on the inside. Then you can give your recipe a name. I'm going to call this Cakealicious. You can describe what it does. If you're going to share it with teammates or other tribe mates, this can sometimes be helpful. Whatever you have in this section, the recipe ingredients will now be required to craft one cake. The next thing you'll need to do is click Make Recipe. And in your inventory, you will see you've got a recipe here now, Cakealicious. Its weight is 0.1, it gives 12 food and 8 health and some mild stamina. The crafting requirements are 4 media berries and 11 raw meat. Now this is recipe making at its most basic. There's a lot more detail that you can go into to get perfect recipes that are better than any food that you'll already find in Ark. There are 2 things that you can do to supersize your recipes to make them incredibly beneficial. The first one is to increase your crafting skill when you create the recipe in the first place, and there's a few ways to do this. The second is choosing the best ingredients for your recipe. Let's take a look at how crafting skill changes can make your recipes super powerful. I am first going to create a recipe that has no crafting skill bonus here. Here we're creating one called an egg burger. It has 10 dodo eggs in it. Once the recipe's been made, I'm going to place it back into the cooking pot with the eggs to craft ourselves an egg burger. Looking at the stats of this basic recipe, they're actually overall pretty good. We've got 51 health, 51 stamina, and 51 food. Let me show you the effects of adding crafting skill to make this recipe from noob to pro with absolutely amazing stats. If you want to take your recipes to the next level, what you want to do is increase your crafting skill when making the recipe. Way to do this is to take a mind wipe and redistribute your points all into crafting skill. So I'm going to do that right here. Make sure you do this when you're standing very close to the cooking pot. Your weight will be so low that it will be hard to move. So I'm going to place all 92 levels into crafting skill. If we take a look here at the end, my total crafting skill is 1020%, and this is on single player settings. We're now going to craft the exact same recipe with 10 Kairuku eggs to see the difference that we get in stats when we've got our crafting skill all the way up. And we'll call this one Super Egg Burger, and we have the recipe here. You can see that with the recipe our crafting bonus was 9.2. This gives us 625 food. This one gives 625 health. Our previous burger gave us 51 health, and this one gives 625 stamina. We'll go ahead and we will craft our super burger. To take your recipes even beyond super level, you can also take a focal chili while having high crafting skill. So let's go ahead and do that and see the difference in the recipe. The effects of focal chili last 15 minutes. It normally increases your movement speed and your crafting speed. However, when it comes to custom recipes, it also adds extra crafting bonus. We're now going to remake the exact same recipe with the 10 eggs, but adding the crafting skill leveled up and then now adding focal chili on top of that. Let's take a look at the stats right here. We have a 1% difference in crafting skill here, but if we look at the stats of the original, it's 625, and with the new one we are going up to 688 in terms of the benefits that it gives. So you do get some bonus when using the focal chili. Next, I'm going to show you what recipe ingredients are best for different tailored recipes. The best ingredients you can get for health, stamina, food, and hydration. One of the best ways to figure this out is to use a custom recipe calculator. You can find some really good ones on the Dododex website, and you can also find some on the Ark Wiki GG site. Some of the best ingredients you can add to a recipe if you're looking for increased health gain are an egg, then cooked prime meat. This gives the same as cooked prime jerky, and it's much easier to make. The next would be raw prime meat, but because it only stacks in one, it means it takes up a lot of recipe slots if you want to add it in. Although a lower tier, raw meat stacks in much higher stacks, so it's a lot easier to add to a recipe. Giant bee honey is also good, but it's the same benefit as raw meat. And again, element dust is cheap, adds a good amount of health, and is also very lightweight. A note regarding eggs is that you can use any egg and it gives the same benefit, so Kairuku and Dodo eggs are the easiest. The one drawback to using eggs is that they're a very heavy ingredient, and if you add more than one of them, the food that you cook up at the end will have a very high weight. If you're looking for stamina gains, one of the best foods you can actually use is rare mushroom. That's one of the best items in the game for stamina. Then next would be an egg, followed by the auric mushrooms, which you get on aberration, and then stimberries and element dust. Some of the best ingredients that you can add to a recipe for the best food stat is a dinosaur egg. Then one of the next best is cooked prime meat, giant bee honey, cooked meat, and regular raw meat. You can use some more complex foods like cooked mutton and, say, jerky. However, this doesn't give much or almost the same benefits as those regular cooked meats, which is why I don't always recommend them. Some of the best ingredients you can add for increased water stat is the aquatic mushrooms from aberration, element dust, and all of the crops. You can add berries as well, but I find crops are actually better than berries for this stat. Custom recipes can seem intimidating, but you really only need a couple of ingredients and good crafting skill to make some amazing recipes. So let me show you some of my favorites. For making these, you'll note my crafting skill is all the way up, and I'm also going to take a focal chili. Into our campfire, we are going to add 20 element dust and 10 cooked prime meat. For this one, our cooked Ellie burger, and go ahead and make that recipe. When you take a look at this recipe, it was very few ingredients, but we have 422 food, 456 health, very easy to make. We'll make one now. And then we have a very lightweight, good superfood. If you want to make an even cheaper recipe than that, you don't even have to use cooked prime. Just get yourself 20 raw meat, 20 element dust, craft your recipe. For this one, meat cake. Go ahead and craft that recipe, remembering that we have crafting skill bonus. There it is in our inventory. You can go ahead and craft one. This recipe has very high food, 430. It has less health than the cooked prime at 361, but that is still a lot of health bonus for such a cheap recipe. The next recipe we'll make is a stamina based recipe. We will put 10 rare mushroom in, add 10 stimberries, again crafting that recipe, pop it back into make one. You can see that the stamina is really high here, 967. I don't think you'll ever need that much stamina. A little bit of food at 41 and a little bit of health at 18. Next, we'll go ahead and make a basic drink recipe. Grab 20 element dust and just grab 10 lemons, purple lemonade. Craft that. Look at the drink here. We have 602 water. I don't know why anyone's character would ever have 602 water. 220 health, which is pretty good, and 180 stamina. When you are making a drink with a custom recipe, you can put all the ingredients in, but when it comes to making it, you'll need to also make sure that you have water either added to your cooking pot, or you can go ahead over to your industrial cooker, which should already have water in it. We had autocraft on, so you can see that we have made one of our drinks. If you don't have crops unlocked yet, you can go ahead and make another really simple recipe. Element dust is super easy to get on the extinction map. You just need a pick and go ahead and harvest some light posts. And aberrant aquatic mushrooms are really easy to get on aberration. You can just pick them by hand. Pop those along with a note. And again, because this is a drink, you will need water. You can just pop a canteen into your cooking pot here. Craft the recipe. This one still has more water than you would ever need at 416, as well as 190 health and 344 stamina. This one works really well as a drink that you can use for extra stam and good hydration. The final recipe I want to share with you is something that you may not consider in Ark, and you can either use it to maybe respawn yourself, troll some friends. So what we want to do is find ingredients that have negative health impacts. In Ark, this is spoiled meat, all kinds of feces, as well as organic polymer or corrupted nodules. What we're going to do is make a death recipe. So for this recipe, I'm going to add 10 organic polymer, 10 rotten meat, pop the note in, call this not sus cake. Go ahead and we have the recipe for not sus cake now. It does minus 858 health, gives you 140 food, and does minus 686 stamina. You might be thinking, well, why on earth would you want to make this? And that is, prior to the ability to respawn on your implant, a lot of PvP players would make recipes like this to kill themselves instead of being captured and drugged out by enemy tribes. Also, if you are glitched in the game and stuck, a lot of players will eat organic polymer or a death recipe to get out of, say, a mesh hole or stuck crevice. The other main reason would be just for simply trolling your teammates. One thing to note is that when you eat it, it doesn't do instant death like the polymer, so you do have a little bit of time. Can you counter it by medical brews? No, you cannot. So the death has already occurred. It's just happening really slowly. We're taking a medical brew and our health is not going up. So if you are pranking people and they try and get around it by taking some medical brews, it's just not going to work. And they can't run away because their stamina is extra affected as well. So that's how a death recipe works. Let's take a look at some of the other recipes that we've got for custom foods to see how they compare in gameplay. So now that we have respec'd, our health is really low. So what happens if we eat one of our superfoods? So this one is meant to give us 688 health. This should get us all the way back up if we eat it, but is that true? We've eaten one of our superfoods now, and we're going to see how long it takes for our character to regenerate full health. You can see here that our health is going up rapidly. The character's food is going up rapidly as well. So we're going to put a timer down the bottom and see how long it takes to get to full health. What's interesting to note here is that the food went up to 100 max, which is where our character's food is, even though this cake had over 600 food. Once we hit 100, it's interesting to note that the food stat starts to drain down as well. So having 600 food is kind of pointless when your character's food is only set at 100. Once you hit that 100, it starts to drop back down again. You can see it's been a few minutes and our character is almost at full health. Now we have only eaten one of these burgers, and you can see after 4 minutes, our character reached 450 health. So it does take quite a long time to get back to full health, but you'll notice that it only took one piece of the burger to get there. What I wanted to know is the superfood better than some of the items already in the game? For example, a med brew. Med brews heal you really quickly, but you do need to eat many of them. So I'm going to see how many med brews I would need to heal up the same amount of damage, and also how long it takes. I started the timer when I took my first med brew. What you need to know is that for med brews, you gain 40 points of health over a 5-second period. So I'm going to see how many it takes and how quickly we can get to full health using only just med brews. So we've just had our last med brew and our health is pretty much back back to full, and it took less than 40 seconds and we only used 9 med brews. So med brews are way faster than the custom food, but you need to make sure you have multiple in your inventory. With the custom food, we only needed 1. I wanted to do some more testing with the custom foods. I wanted to see if eating the custom foods would help negate damage that you're getting kind of per tick or ongoing in the game, so I tested it out in the swamp cave on the island map. The swamp cave is filled with toxic gas, and if you don't go in wearing ghillie or scuba or a gas mask, you will take a consistent damage every few seconds. The damage is consistent over time and you will die pretty quickly. In fact, when testing, I died after 48 seconds of being in the cave. I tested entering the swamp cave again, this time taking my extra health burger to see if the increase in health over time helped negate some of the damage and continued to keep me alive for longer. You can see that we take damage there and then afterwards our health goes up until we take another tick of damage. Overall, we did last longer. It took 57 seconds for us to die. So I think the benefit of the custom foods is to provide long-term health over a long period of time, whether that be if you're being attacked by a creature or entering a dangerous environment. It does offer sustained healing over a long period of time. I hope in this video I've taught you something about custom food in Ark that you found helpful. If you like videos just like this one, you can click on one right here or subscribe for more.